Hello, welcome to my channel. Today I would like to talk about the embryology of the thyroid gland and how it grows. Simply, there may be in several references different texts, but in here I'm going to talk about what I believe is true and what in 90% of the resources has written that it is true. So we have different pharyngeal arcs. The first pharyngeal arc, second, third, fourth, and sixth. We don't have the fifth because fifth will be degenerated. But before it degenerates, we have from 4 and 6 something which we call it ultimo pharyngeal body or ultimo bronchial body, which itself will give rise to parafollicular cells or C cells. So in here, as you see, this is the inner part of the pharyngeal arc, and this is the outer part of the pharyngeal arc. First, I talk about the outer part, and then I go to the inner part. So what I have in here, there is a tubercular part in here, which we call it tubercular impar, which gives rise to the tongue. But I'm not going to talk about tongue right now. There is something under it, and it is called the foramen secum. And foramen secum is a remnant of thyroglossal duct. So, all in all, what I'm talking about. Between first and also the second pharyngeal arc, there will be a diverticulum. So this is a diverticulum, okay? This is a diverticulum. It wants to grow. As it grows, there will be a duct. The duct's name is thyroglossal duct. And in here, I have a bilobe finally, and also some parts which will be added and fused to this thyroid gland and makes it thyroid gland finally. But what happens? Between the first and also the second pharyngeal arc, there will be a diverticulum. This diverticulum grows and makes a duct. The duct's name is thyroglossal duct, and it will come down. And finally, I have a butterfly shape of the thyroid gland because the cells are growing, the cells are dividing, the division happens in here. I'm talking about embryo, so embryo is growing. And then from the fourth and also the fifth pharyngeal arc, I have the ultimo pharyngeal body or ultimo bronchial body, brachial body, which itself will give rise to some parts in here, and these parts will fuse to the part which has come down and grow in here. So there will be an extra part in here fused, and this extra part gives rise to my parafollicular cell or the C cells. So this middle portion is called isthmus. This middle portion of the thyroid gland, which the lobes, the lateral lobes will fuse in here, this is called isthmus. There is another lobe, maybe in some people, which is called pyramidal lobe or primordial lobe. So this is another lobe. It may be in some people, and it may not exist in some people, but the lateral lobes do exist. And in here I have the isthmus at the middle. So another view, I want to talk about another view which will look at this growth of this thyroid gland in the embryology. This is the tongue, and in here I have a sulcus. This is called sulcus terminalis of the tongue, the posterior part of the tongue, the anterior part of the tongue. And in here I have the foramen secum. What is the foramen secum? I told you there is a thyroglossal duct. The diverticulum will come down, and finally this is the thyroglossal. This thyroglossal duct will be degenerated completely in a normal person. If it doesn't be degenerated, it will have ectopic lingual thyroid, or maybe ectopic cervical thyroid, which is a problem. It means, for example, a little part in here will remain, or a little part in here will remain from this thyroglossal duct, which is not normal. It must be degenerated completely. Only this remains with its fused part, and also a little part which is called foramen secum, which is the remnant of this thyroglossal duct. And in here I have the foramen secum also. So what happens? Another view. This diverticulum between the first and also the second pharyngeal arc will grow, come down. There will be a bilobe until when it grows. It will grow till, and what controls this growth? What controls this growth? I mean that maybe it wants to come so much down. How it understands that, okay, it must stop. These control this bilobe, and it tells it, okay, it's time to stop. And what are these? Between the fourth and the fifth pharyngeal arc, they have the caudal pharyngeal complex. The fifth and also the fourth pharyngeal arc will give rise to the caudal pharyngeal complex, and this caudal pharyngeal complex will give rise to the lateral thyroid element. It gives rise to three elements, but one of them is lateral thyroid element, and these lateral thyroid element give rise to here. So these are lateral thyroid elements, but they will finally itself give rise to the parafollicular cells, and finally it will fuse to the bilobe, and this bilobe will give rise to the lateral thyroid lobe itself. So the bilobe, this is a bilobe, will give rise to the lateral thyroid lobe, and these part, which is the lateral thyroid element, will give rise to the parafollicular cell, which are between the follicles of the thyroid, which I'm going to talk about it in the next video. But let's let me see if I have told you everything. Okay, just in here, if we look at the inner section of the pharyngeal arc, we will see that, okay, these are pharyngeal pouch, and here I have the pharyngeal, these are pharyngeal pouch, and in here I have the pharyngeal arc. At the first pharyngeal arc, there is a swelling in here, and the pharyngeal arcs will finally fuse at the middle. But the first pharyngeal arc, there is a swelling in here, and this swelling is called lingual swelling. Under this swelling, there is tuberculum impar, which gives rise to the tongue. And under this tuberculum impar, there is a foramen secum. There is a foramen secum, as I told you. That's it. It was all I wanted to talk about. So it was everything about embryology of the thyroid gland, and see you in the next video about the thyroid gland itself, and also some mechanisms which happen in the cells.